Greetings, everyone. This is this week's Real Talk with ZSJ. And of course, I'm your host, Sister Zakia. And as I teed up last week, we have a very important conversation we're about to have. So I'm glad to have my brother Tony Lindsay joining me today. You all let us know, where are you tuning in from? Put your city and state in the comments, or whatever country you're watching from. Let us know. Put it in the comments. I'm really looking forward to seeing where you all are from. And yeah, so while we do that, while we let people come on in, let people hit the thumbs up button and let people share, Tony, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience?
Well, hello everyone. My name is Tony Lindsay. I am a filmmaker and an entrepreneur. I live in Brooklyn, New York. Uh, I'm a pretty opinionated person. I've been very much engaged in, you can say, political activism, social activism. And, I'm really excited for this discussion that we're going to have today because it centers on something that I've been talking about for years now. And it seems like everything that, we've been warning people about is pretty much coming to fruition and it's coming to pass. So, I definitely, I appreciate you inviting me on the platform. I look forward to getting into this conversation.
Absolutely. So, as you all can see, the topic is censorship. Is definitely talking about these social media companies and the type of power they have. And so because of that, platforms like mine have been what's called shadow banned. And if you're talking about anything that's positive, political, unapologetically black, many of these platforms will censor your information and shadow ban you. So because of that, this is why you hear me often say, hit the like button and share, because that's a little bit of a way around it. Because if you don't, this information will not be organically shared. So we want people to organically share this information. Yeah, brother Tony, I couldn't think of anybody else to really have to talk about this particular issue, because I've seen your commentary about this issue several times. I was sharing with you, of course, backstage in the green room before we went live, is that my Facebook page, I think I've been on Facebook since around 2010.
Hmm.
Yeah, my son was 3. So yeah, I've been on Facebook since around 2010. And since then, I have went viral, if you will, several times on Facebook specifically. And my post usually gets lots of engagements up
Right,
until last year, and a little bit before that, I
right,
started to be put in jail more. Like, I would be censored more. And a lot of it is because I have always been political. I have always used Facebook as a tool to share information about my politics, about my beliefs, about my values. And all of that tends to be in line with a very pro Black agenda,
that's
right?
right.
And so I noticed that after there were calls, particularly from left wing activists, I guess you can call them, liberals, whatever you want to call them. They liberals were actually calling for censorship of conservative speech, right?
Right,
But obviously, what happens is that when these companies respond, they censor everybody. Like,
right.
so even though a lot of the activists who were like, you know, doing activism against Mark Zuckerberg, doing activism against Facebook, they were initially saying we want to censor voices like Alex Jones.
Right.
Of course, when they did that, I actually was against that, because I know that when they censor Alex Jones, if they can censor him, they're going to censor
Who are they coming
everybody
for
else.
next? That's right.
And when they took Minister Farrakhan off Facebook, I went off, because I said, if y'all stay silent about this, don't say nothing when they come after you. Now, this has been several years ago when they took Minister Farrakhan off
Yeah.
Facebook. Twitter did the same thing. And then there was very little pushback from the Black community. And I'm like, man, y'all rolling over. So anyway, I
Yep.
don't want to say too much. I kind of wanted to say that to preface the conversation that
Hmm.
this has been going on for the last several years.
Yeah.
Facebook, you can hardly say anything on Facebook anymore. I actually don't even use Facebook as much as I
Right.
used to anymore. I've migrated to a couple of other platforms, but come on in, brother, and share what have you seen? I know that you've been censored. Just tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about your perspective on this issue.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned Minister Louis Farrakhan when he got censored, because that's when the alarm started ringing, and that's when we really should have like been, going up in arms about this whole censorship thing, because they did censor Alex Jones, but remember they lumped Minister Farrakhan in with him so
Yes,
for,
they did.
for many of us, we're looking at that like, okay, yeah, that's the excuse, that's how they're going to take us out. How dare you, first of all, lump the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who has done so much for the struggle of Black people and waking Black people up in this country. You're going to lump him in with someone like Alex Jones. Now, as far as the censorship is concerned, I've been on Facebook for probably the same amount of time as you. I've definitely amassed a pretty sizable following. I've gone viral multiple times, but I started to notice a few years ago, the more political I became, particularly pro-Black, I noticed that certain posts that I had put up, they might have like, let's say 2.5 million views or whatever, but like out of nowhere, they would just stop. Like there would be no more viewership. People wouldn't be able to see it. So that's when I was first introduced to like the shadow banning thing. But today, now you're having these platforms overtly tell you that we're going to throttle down your viewership. We're going to move your posts lower so people don't see it anymore. And you know, we should have seen this coming. And the crazy part about all of this, as you said, it's been Democrats that have been really leading the charge
Come
on
on,
this
brother.
on
Come
this
on, brother. And it's been
authoritarian.
conservatives. It has
Yes.
been so perplexing to me that
Mhm.
conservatives are the ones fighting back against fascism, not
Yes.
just against the techno fascism from these big
Mhm.
tech giants, but also from the um we can't say the word because of course they'll ban it.
Of,
The C-19
and there's an example,
fascism.
right? Just the fact that we have to
It's been
modify
conservatives.
our
And
language.
to me, that's so perplexing because I don't identify as a conservative. Obviously, I'm not, a Trump supporter, but it's like this is really perplexing to me.
Yeah. And it's funny. If you notice, the most prominent voices that are anti-war, that are pro-free speech, are pro-freedom of assembly, are now Republicans
They're
and
now
conservatives.
Republicans. They used to be a Democrat issue. The
Yes.
ACLU has rolled over. They don't even represent free speech anymore.
Yeah.
They
And
have not sued Facebook. They have not sued Twitter. They have not sued Google. What's
I think
wrong? What's happening? What's really going on?
I think it's a couple of things, but one thing I definitely think we're witnessing a shift in political identity, similar to what we saw in the late 60s, where the Republican Party was primarily Black people were Republicans. I don't know if people know that. And historically, Black people have always been more conservative than not. But I think that the Democratic Party has been very skillful as at presenting themselves as a friend to Black people. They've been very skillful at pretending to championing causes that would benefit us when they actually most times end up disproportionately harming
Harming
us
us.
more than anyone else.
Don't
So,
get me started.
you know what I'm saying? I'd rather deal with the devil that tells me he hates me to my face than the one that's going to be smiling with me, inviting me over for dinner, but slowly poisoning me with every meal that they're giving me. So, so for me, I just think that we're heading in a very dangerous direction. If we look, that there's so many new things that we're seeing. We're seeing that there are bills being proposed, and I think it was approved by the Biden administration where they can install kill switches on your vehicles now.
Oh my
That
God.
law
I'm so
enforcement,
glad you brought that up.
yeah. So just think about this. Let's say you say something that is not in lockstep with the mainstream narrative, and you're now
Right.
suddenly deemed a black identity extremist. Guess
Extremists.
what? Law enforcement now has the authority to come
To
up with
put a kill
whatever
switch on your
obscure
car.
reason to shut you off. We don't.
Yep.
How can we live in a society where we're calling for the government's ability to literally cut you off from society
I
and cripple
cannot
you?
believe people are rolling over to this shit. So many people have lost critical thinking.
Oh,
And
come
I'm
on,
talking about this is running the gamut of identity. You got so-called nationalists, black nationalists
come on.
who rolling over on this shit. And I'm like, what is happening to our people? This, let me tell you something, brother. And this is my assessment. No, I don't have access to the FBI documents or the
Come on.
CIA documents,
Right.
but I have access to enough information, historical documents, that I can make a assessment of what's going on
That's
based
right.
on history. You
Come
understand
on.
what I'm saying?
We used to
And
be able to do
so
that. Go ahead.
this is one of the biggest psychological warfares in
Yes.
modern history. Do you
Come on.
understand me? I don't
Come
see
on.
how people can't see that.
Yes.
I'm so
Absolutely.
frustrated that I can see it, but so many people around me don't. It's frustrating. Do you find it frustrating?
I find it incredibly frustrating. And here's the brilliance of the psychological warfare. Let's look at the Russia Ukraine situation. We are now purporting as the United States to be fighting defending democracy, right? We're getting involved because we're
They are
defending
literally
democracy.
supporting
When the
fascists.
president of the Ukraine, Vladimir Zelensky, has literally outright banned like 11 opposing political parties, and he has consolidated all media into one one national media source. So he has officially basically declared Ukraine as a one-party state where there are no dissenting views allowed. Can you imagine
That's
if
happening here.
yeah, listen, the United States is we're modeling ourselves after this. And what's skillful, what I'm saying is the US media and Western media attempting to redefine the term democracy in order to prime us. They're priming us for this. They're priming us for complete authoritarianism. And too many
And they
people,
using black people to do it, black women
they put us at the front of the
specifically,
line.
with natural hair. Oh, look at it. This shit. Hey, I cannot tell you
Mm-hmm.
how shrewd these devils are.
Yeah, but the problem is, you know, we have two
Mad
problems.
scientists.
One problem we have is that we're not educating ourselves enough on the real issues that matter. And I think a lot of that is largely because we're inundated with so much entertainment, so much propaganda, so much fear that sometimes we just say, you know what, this is all too much. And we're just going to let y'all handle it. We're going to let the people that we deem as authorities over us to handle it. And we just hand over our trust because a lot of times we just don't feel that we have the intellectual capacity to even engage in all of that stuff. Because I can't count the amount of times that I've spoken to my own people, my intelligent black people who had no idea that there were neo-Nazis infesting the Ukrainian army. You know,
Who do they think beating up all the Africans that the Congressional Black Caucus still haven't addressed?
the same people who are allowing their pets to get on the train and the bus to go across
Pets,
the
but
border while
Africans
kicking
can't
out
get
black
on.
pregnant women.
Right.
The same country that refused to denounce Nazis officially when the UN came up with their resolution
Talk
alongside the
about it.
United States.
Talk
Like,
about
come
it.
on, you
And
know.
and hold on, because YouTube actually about to take this down. They're censoring even
Oh,
YouTube, which
you
is
know what?
owned by Google, which we
Right.
know is in bed with the U.S. intelligence agencies. Right.
Mhm.
That's why this is also being streamed on Rumble. I've been telling a lot of people
There
to
you go.
initially come on over to Rumble with me. But here's the thing: they're censoring any type of anti-Ukrainian
Rhetoric. Period.
on Google. I know a couple of people have had strikes against their videos. They've been demonetized, and some of them have been taken down.
But they're also allowing now. Facebook recently announced that they are now making an accommodation for people to praise neo Nazis
Yes.
as long as they are fighting against Russians. So now we're making accommodation for Nazis. This is factual.
I had so many
Yeah,
people say, I thought the Nazis were bad. I did too. I
yeah,
guess they good now.
but
I
and
guess
this
the Nazis are good.
and this is the crazy thing. And who is pushing this? Who is supporting this? Democrats. So
Democrats.
and
Well, the Democrats and the Republicans are
well, both
both
of them are pushing it.
anti-Russia. Yeah.
Right, right. Because if there's one thing that's always a bipartisan issue that they can agree on, it's war.
Let me tell y'all something. I saw now. I have not been watching the Supreme Court hearings. It's a dog and pony show. Is that she's going to be confirmed? She's been picked, and
Yeah.
the elite have given her the thumbs up. She meets all their requirements. She's going to toe the
Everything is
line of
performance
white
right now.
domination. She's going to toe the line of white domination. All right. They put on a show today, though. Lindsey Graham, Ted Cruz, the big bad white man Republican, and we got to defend this sister.
Yeah.
But the cameras panned over. Oh, and Cory Booker, I wanted to throw up. He put on a Oscar-worthy show today. I was not watching this until a friend sent it to me, and I'm like,
Right,
why did
right.
you send me this? Because I didn't want to watch this. You know what I mean? This is a dog and pony show, but she sent it to me, and I started watching it. At the end of Cory Booker's, he didn't even ask no questions. It was just a soliloquy about Harriet Tubman and her being a black woman and all this bullshit that ain't got nothing to do with being on the Supreme Court. At the end of it, the Republican senator Kennedy from Louisiana, who is he's a Trumper. He went over and shook Cory Booker's hand, and they both winked and laughed at each other. I said, now,
Really?
if people can't watch this and see that this is all a dog and pony show to keep Americans divided over bullshit while the real agenda is being carried out,
I
why
mean,
can't people see like through the lens? I looked at that and I just smiled. I said, I bet you so many people who are watching this don't get what they just saw. Go
right.
ahead.
And well, that's the crazy thing. It's like, how many times do we have to have something laid out right in front of us in order for us to finally acknowledge it? You know, and especially, see, my primary concern is black people, black folks. And for me, it's like, how many times does someone have to tell you they hate you before you decide to walk out that door? We're in an abusive relationship with the Democratic Party. We are in an abusive relationship with this
With
entire
America.
white supremacist system.
Yes.
And we are being fooled with the lie of partisanship when both major political parties, neither one of them is interested in preserving or protecting or enhancing the interests of black people. That's just the fact. That's just what it is. And what's crazy is, like, with all of the lies and the propaganda that we're inundated with, you know who always ends up have to paying for this shit? Us.
Us. And this comment, thank you, whoever posted this. I appreciate you because this is real. And that's why when I watched this today, my spirit was vexed. I
Mm,
just, I was already, as you know, I have not been feeling good these last couple of days, and I've
mhm.
already been, like I said, under the weather. And I looked at that, and because I love us so much, and because I'm always constantly trying to figure out ways on how we really gonna get free, I find myself pulling more and more away from
Mm.
the lies. Like, just it's everywhere. And get it now. I got people in my family who are under hypnosis.
Yes.
I got people that I love who are under hypnosis. That is so mentally straining
Yes, it is. Yes, it
for
is.
somebody who is wide awake. You
You know what?
understand me?
Listen, I can relate, and we were kind of like discussing that a little bit before we went live, and that's a very lonely place to be. It's a very frustrating place to be. I believe James Baldwin said to be Black in America and relatively conscious is to be in a state of rage all the time.
Listen, that's
So
one of my favorite quotes.
yes, so so I understand how some of us can just kind of feel like we want to throw our hands up and say, man, listen, forget it. We can't take this, because we're always under a huge amount of emotional stress. That's the weapon that they use against us, man. There's always this messaging that we're inundated with as black people that tells us our place in this country. It's very easy to defeat us. And I think we have a responsibility to start abandoning establishment media, so-called mainstream media, all of it altogether. And I think
Brother,
we
let
need
me
to
tell you
start
something.
supporting and financing real independent media,
Yes.
black media.
Yes, yes. And here's the thing, we need our own social media platforms, quiet as it's kept.
Come on
We
now.
actually need our own social media because we got some black media, but they still have to be dependent on YouTube, like we are. We're on YouTube right now, right? Like we on Facebook right now. We on Twitter right now. Who knows? Like I'm not dependent on this. You know what I mean? They can shut it
Right.
down tomorrow, and I'm gonna still be alive and well
That's
and
right.
flourishing. But here's the thing that I wanted to say, and and this is what's so painful to me is that when you try to have this conversation with our people, many of them are so emotionally connected to the thing that they've been fed, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to actually have a
A productive
conversation that's based on
conversation with them,
facts.
because the
Yeah,
defense mechanism, it kicks in, because it's another form of cognitive dissonance. It's like
right,
an installed cognitive dissonance. We know white people experience cognitive dissonance on a massive scale whenever confronted with the truth of their racism, even though they
right,
may go through life thinking that they're the most liberal, progressive, wonderful person in the world. The moment that you force a person to face the truth of the lie that they have lived, you know something within them, it triggers, and the defense mechanisms come in and they refuse that information. They double down on whatever they believe because they just don't want to accept anything different. And that is representative to me of the Democratic
right.
Party. It is representative to me of liberalism. It is this denial of truth. It is deception. And we have become so attached to it because we thought we thought these people were our friends for so long. And the reality of knowing now that we have no friends is difficult for many people to accept. So I think what we need to do, like my brother Dr. Cleo Minago always says, is we have to try to break
That's
our
my brother
people.
too. Love
That's
Dr.
right.
Cleo.
We got to
Shout out
break
to Dr.
people out of that
Cleo.
trauma trance. Shout out to Dr.
Trauma
Cleo
trance.
Minago.
That's it. The
That's
trauma
right.
trance. That is it.
And we have to engage in trance breaking behavior. And I totally agree with that, which means we have to speak to our people with empathy. We have to speak to them with love. And when we are people whenever you're in the know, when you're somewhat conscious or woke or whatever you want to call it, when you know better, guess what? I know it's frustrating when other people don't know and they seem to continue doing the same things over and over again.
Yep.
But as people, as the learned, when you know better, you got to do better.
Do better.
So we have to exhibit a certain amount of patience if we truly want to affect positive change in our community. And I'm committed to that.
Me too. Same thing. I'm committed to it. I am committed to doing the best that I can with the people who want to get down with this work,
Yeah.
who get it, like from the level that you and I are talking about. But I've also had to learn patience with those who don't, or those who
Yes.
are so, like you said, the trauma trance. I've had to
Yes.
learn patience. There was a time I would call our people names. I would be just as harmful. You know what I
Same.
mean? And I
Yes.
can't do that anymore.
Come on.
I have found myself just pulling away. Like
Yeah.
it's too difficult. You know what I mean, to engage in this stuff. And
We even engage in using the same language of our oppressor
yeah,
against each other. So
yeah,
I think over the last few years, I know personally I've grown a lot.
me too.
Because to see, it's one thing to see traitors amongst us, because there are many. There are many
So
traitors
many.
amongst us who
So
are
many.
willing to serve this white supremacist system
Yep.
in order to preserve their access to it. But
Yep.
at the same time, I understand that there are a lot of people who may not have the clear view that we have. So we have to exhibit that patience. So, and I just want to kind of say something, just kind of going back to the censorship that we were talking about.
Absolutely.
Now, if you notice over the past few years, anyone who has been speaking in any contrarian manner against the C word and the V
Mm-hmm.
juice, you
The
notice
VG.
that those
Yeah, there we
people
go.
have they been thrown in jail, they've been suspended, they've been tagged as misinformation, blah, blah,
Yep.
blah, all of
Hold
that,
on.
right?
Why some of the misinformation is coming back now? It's
And
coming
that's
back around.
the thing.
And
There's this,
now all the conspiracy theories have been
are
proven now.
coming
Like,
right. And
can
there's a
you
saying.
rattle off some examples? One example that's happening right now. Remember, during the election, Twitter actually banned the talking about Hunter Biden's and said that it was
I was just
false
going.
information.
Come on now.
Now it's proven to have
It
been
turns out
accurate.
it's
These
true.
people are playing games, y'all.
But hold on though. Remember when Trump was talking about that Hunter Biden, the Hunter Biden laptop situation, what did all of mainstream establishment media and the corporate tech giants, what did they all do?
Mainstream media
They
is an arm
coalesced
of the
around
state.
Joe Biden, and they labeled everything that Donald Trump said as Russian propaganda.
Russian propaganda or Russian disinformation.
And we got to remember,
everything ain't Russian disinformation.
and they blacked out. They effectively blacked out the Hunter Biden story from all of the mainstream media.
Yes.
So, but wouldn't that amount to the same thing that they accused Trump of, as far as like trying to swing an election when you're
election? It was election. Yeah, it was election,
during it. Yes.
What do you call it? Interference? Whatever.
Yeah, isn't that election interference?
I try to tell people all the time. When I start really peeling back the layers, see, I used to work in the Democratic Party machine at the local level when I was in Ohio. And I have to have patience with my people, even people that I call friends, because they still on the Democrat train. I saw how dirty they were from up close. Because see, once you're in, like, and you're working within the system, see, I was really young. So of course I'm Black, my family, diehard Democrats. So I was reared, with my great aunt, and shout out to her because she's been a part of the Democratic Party machine in the state of Ohio. And so she was mentoring me. So I was a part of it. And then I started seeing how things really worked. And then I started seeing like, oh shit, y'all the KKK too.
Yeah. I mean, I started getting more political.
Listen.
I got involved in politics maybe 3 years ago. And obviously the Democratic Party, and I was exposed to a lot of corruption, and it was so disheartening to me.
It's bad in New York where you
I was just like, man, they say change takes place from the bottom up. But what I saw on the bottom, man, that was scary. I was like, damn, if it's this bad down here, how is it at the top? So, I just think we need to figure out a way of breaking away from this dependency on the Democratic Party. And we have to find a way to withdraw from this system as much as possible.
It is time.
While trying to build something of our own. We need to withdraw in education and educate, and we need to be educating our children. Listen, I firmly believe that Black people need to educate Black children. And we need to withdraw economically. This political system is just rife with corruption.
Yes, it is.
And no matter how much symbolism they present us with, Black people, you're not getting anything. You're not getting anything. And I think the Democrats, at least the Democrats, because that's who we've been
that's who we vote for.
We've been hinged to for the past 50 years? 50, 60 years?
60 years.
Yeah, I think we should know by now that They're not delivering on whatever they promise, and even as of late, don't even bother promising.
They don't even bother promise.
When a
Keep in
political
mind, Biden literally ran on, we got to get Trump out.
That's it. And
That's
that was
all
good
he
enough.
ran on.
And that was good enough because we were scared because he was the boogeyman, right?
They created him to be a boogeyman. Here's the thing. Trump has not changed from who he was. Even he was an asshole when he was on TV.
Yeah.
Trump has not changed. He has been consistent, but the media made him a pariah. But Trump has actually not changed. When rappers was rapping about him, he was an asshole. You feel me?
Right. He's always been an asshole.
When Oprah and them was taking pictures with him, he was an asshole.
We just can't identify the other assholes that have been surrounding him.
Listen.
That's the problem. We're not identifying the other assholes. We're not identifying the other racists. Oh, Trump is racist, but did Trump
created the crime bill?
Did Trump destroy a whole generation of black people?
Come on, brother.
What are you talking about?
We got to talk about it.
And then when we talk about, this whole, the Trump is this, the whole media campaign that painted Trump as a monster. But at the same time, why are we not focusing on? Did you know that just the other day? I'm sorry.
Answer me this. No, answer this. These people have so much power. They have silenced an ex-president of the United States. Twitter took him off as a sitting president of the United States.
When you do that
kind of power, that's techno-fascism. No company, no person should have that type of power.
And you know how many black people I argued with
about this
that were happy? You know how many black people I argued with that were happy when that happened, and they just could not connect the dots.
Could not connect the dots.
How this
and if you try to get them to connect the dots, they accuse you of being a Trump supporter.
That's another thing that, listen, I don't care what anybody has to say. See, let me tell you something. Genuine self-esteem is an amazing thing. And I think the Democratic Party in particular has really done a doozy on the self-esteem and even identity of self for black people, because we seem to have this incessant need to please white folks. And
I don't know why we still falling for symbolism. After Obama for 8 years, y'all still happy about somebody getting on the Supreme Court? Here's how I think about it. Any black person that can make it that high is disgusting.
Listen,
because if you're making it that high in this system, you done signed a blood oath. In my opinion, you done did some pretty sick shit.
I just feel, oh man, I just think
it's getting too real, ain't it?
Yeah, but we're out of time.
We out of time, bro.
We're running out of time. We can't. We got to start figuring this stuff out. And even with labeling people as Trump supporters, that's a tactic. That's liberals that's putting the battery in your back to do that to people. The moment that you decide, forget it, not even to defend Republicans, right? But the moment you decide to even just have a chat with them in the middle of an election where either side could win, like our brother Ice Cube did, y'all jumped on him. They attacked him. But who put the battery in the back of people to go after Ice Cube? White liberals.
White liberals.
And the mainstream media.
You had all the Negro peons jumping to their defense.
Yeah, the gatekeepers. The gatekeeper class, the boule class, they decided to step in and sabotage it. When all the brother was saying, listen, let's try to demand something for ourselves, for no matter who wins this election. But we need to be at the table, and we need to he even begged people, listen, please sign on. If you have any ideas, I want you guys to contact me. I need more and more ideas. And people just chose to attack him for it. So, I mean, what are we doing here? Doing? Are we averse? Are we so averse to the truth that we're willing to just close our ears and blah, 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 blah. I can't hear you, because that's what it's amounting to now. All the people who are accused of spreading conspiracy theories today, now you're seeing that pretty much
need to apologize to all the conspiracy theories because they have been proven right in less than 12 months.
There's an old saying, what's the difference between a conspiracy and the truth? about 3 to 6 months. And,
Okay,
and
about
I
3
think
to
we
6
learned
months.
that. We learned that over these past few years dealing with this pandemic response. See,
Yep.
because it's the response that destroyed and decimated the wealth of mostly poor Black and Latino people across this country. That's
Yep.
just the facts.
That's a
You know,
fact.
the inflation that we're experiencing now, and the high gas prices. Oh, people that make like 200 grand a year, okay, it's a minor inconvenience. But the people that make 30,000 a year,
Talk about
35,000 a
it.
year, who is that?
The
Who?
inflation, Biden's economy is trash. Do you hear me?
Yeah,
Complete trash. Say what you want to about Trump, but gas was low and food was nowhere near as astronomical as it is
that's
right now.
right. And for those people who say Biden doesn't set gas prices, I think you
I'm
need to
so
educate.
sick of these Negroes saying that.
Listen, bro, let me tell you something. American policy, like the United States policy, directly impacts gas prices. And
Yes, people know,
yes,
like knowledgeable people, we know that. But people
yeah,
who want to just defend the old white racist who
yeah,
was friends with Strom Thurmond, an actual KKK member, an
yeah,
actual KKK member.
and has unsavory ties to Ukraine, as evidenced by his son's laptop that turned out to be the truth
All these
and not a
Nazis in the
conspiracy theory.
Ukraine.
You know, this is crazy. And then and recently, I think maybe yesterday, the campaign lawyer for Hillary Clinton was just indicted for lying to the FBI and basically concocting the whole Russiagate story. Remember Russiagate, the whole
And the
Russian?
mass media is not reporting on a lot of this shit.
No, because they're
Mainstream
culpable.
media,
So
they're
you're not going to
culpable.
see them.
They are an arm of the state.
Thank you.
When I first realized that the corporate media was basically just the arm of the state was when it finally came out that the weapons of mass destruction and all of that bullshit was all lies. How soon we forget. How soon we forget.
Yeah,
Do you remember Colin? And they always use black people to do the dirty work. You remember
of course.
Colin Powell came before Congress and act like he had all this evidence of weapons
Yeah.
of mass destruction, and now we know all of it was lies.
But what's funny is no one has been punished for that.
No
No
one
one.
has been punished.
And
No
this
one
is the
has been
problem.
punished.
We don't hold this 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 cabal of liars accountable for their crimes against US citizens. And
Yes.
we are now entering a stage where we are so afraid, so brainwashed, and so miseducated and undereducated that we are calling for our own freedom to be taken away from us
People are calling
in the
for,
name of
ooh, say
protection.
it again. Say it again. If y'all don't get these likes up on this video, ain't nothing but fire coming out of Tony's mouth. If y'all don't like and share this video, listen, more people who are like-minded need access to this information. We done told y'all at the beginning they done shadow ban my channel. So
And
we got
this
to
is
do this
why we
again.
need our own independent media platforms. And you know, our brother Isaac Hayes Jr., he has a fan base
Yep.
over there. I know he's still
I got to
working
sign
on.
up.
Right, I signed up, and listen, we got to get behind our brothers and sisters. I don't care if it's a little
Melanated
quirky,
people is
wonky,
another one. I'm on there.
melanated people. I don't know if Dr. Boy still has Black Enough anymore, but I know there are a few platforms that we've been trying to get started. And if there could just be a coalition of black folks with money, because there's a bunch of, come on, all these celebrities out here spending millions of dollars on jewelry and shit. Like, bro, why don't we do something for the culture, something for our people, something to move us forward and our children? Come on now.
Right.
We have almost 2 trillion. Forget all that 1.5 what we had before they destroyed the rest of our wealth. But the money that we spend as consumers, it rivals other countries,
It
like
does.
their entire populations.
Entire countries. Yes, it does. Hey, man, this is good. This is good conversation. Y'all, look, Umar Voice. Hit the Cash App. Umar Voice. Hit the Cash App. Hit the PayPal. Hit the we got your y'all know I gotta have a little fun. I ain't feeling good, y'all. I gotta have a little fun on here. But now,
don't hold your breath for celebrities. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. And and I'm glad that person said that, because that's what we do.
Right.
We hold our breath, for celebrities. We wait to hear their opinions on things
Yep.
before we decide to have our own opinions.
Yep.
And this is what it is. It's a reliance and an attachment to symbolism. And
Right.
why is that? Because that's what they've been feeding us for so long, to the point that we view symbolism as progress. When we're demanding reparations, which we are rightfully owed, they're giving us Black Lives Matter streets painted, and we're celebrating that.
Symbolism.
Well, you know what I'm saying? And even when you talk about, like, when we're looking for tangible policy and legislation, what did they do? They gave the Asian community an anti-Asian hate crime bill, right? Because we knew the crime bill was coming, where they
Yes,
gave
we
them
did.
money, they gave them the endowments, all types of legislation. What did we get? And by the way, that bill they got, we got nothing. And guess
Right.
what? The Asian community, anti-Asian hate crimes amount to 1/11 the amount of hate crimes that Black people are subjected to in this country.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, if you look at the crime statistics, you'll see that anti-Asian hate crimes are even less than the category other.
Yeah. Yep.
But what did we get? What did Black people get? While Ukraine is getting 13, 14 billion, what do Black people get
Man,
for
they
saving
writing
this
checks to
country?
Ukraine left and right, bro. And I'm like, you got people telling us not to ask for reparations.
And you know what? Before, I'm not gonna get your show any strikes, but what I will say to my Black people out there,
Oh,
before
I
you
don't
go
care. I'm not
screaming,
in this for money. Say, I'm
no,
in this.
but you know
This
what?
is talk real. My show called Real Talk.
But we want them to get the message before they
That's
shut it
true.
off.
Before they shut it down. Yeah,
Right.
you're
So
right,
what
brother.
I will say is this: to all you beautiful Black people out there yelling, "You stand with Ukraine," why don't you look at the news cycle prior to this year about Ukraine? Why don't you look up the
Exactly.
Azov battalion in Ukraine, which is a part of their National Guard? Why
Talk
don't you
about
look
it.
up the politics of Ukraine as a country? I'm not even going to tell you when. Just look before this year. As a matter of fact, even this year, and this is the last thing I want to say about this, because we're talking about censorship and misinformation. And I
That's
want
right.
people to understand something. Just a few years ago, the New York Times did an article where they blatantly called out the Azov battalion, which is part of the military there in Ukraine, as being open neo-Nazis.
Nazis.
But today, in an article that they just published, they're now referring to them as right-wing battalion. You see how they play with the language? You see how they sanitize the language in order to accommodate fascism and Nazism? And
Yep.
we just sit back here and act like it's all okay. That's why we have to educate ourselves and understand what we're talking about. So, to those of us in the know, I once again implore you to have patience and truly, please, just try to explain to our brothers and sisters what's going on, because I had some very deep conversations with some people that I know who were really completely unaware of the whole Russia-Ukraine situation. They were unaware of the lies they've been told about the C word and the V juice and all of that.
Exactly.
So,
And look, Asians got a bill and don't even vote. That's a good point. Their subgroup vote in the least numbers.
yes, but yet they got. So I mean, there's a blatant lack of respect for Black people in this country.
They have no respect
This
for us.
country thrives upon anti-Blackness.
Yes.
That's it. And Black dysfunction. It is
Yes.
heavily invested in it. So until we realize that, we're not going to climb up out of this. So as Tamika Mallory says, we're in a state of emergency, but let's focus on the real emergency that we're in right now.
Right. Right. And it's so funny too, because we getting ready to hear all the vote or die people coming out. This is the midterm. So they're getting their checks written to them now by the Democratic Party and all the people who are
telling them what they can and can't say.
And telling them what they can and can't say, and telling them to come in our communities. But one of the things that I can say is that some of the people in our community are waking up, and that a lot of these gatekeepers are getting cussed out when they come to our communities.
Absolutely. We don't play that here in Brooklyn, New York either.
Right.
And someone wrote something about I guess we don't have a geopolitical view. That is very true. And I think we are trapped in a bubble in the United States
Sister
in
Marley K,
particular.
keeping it all the way 100. And shout out to the best moderator in Facebook history. Shout out to my girl RM. Appreciate
All
you,
right.
sis. But
We're
keep going, brother. You teaching.
No, I was just saying that we're trapped in a bubble of misinformation and propaganda that is fed to us by Western media as a whole. Not even U.S. media anymore,
It's
but
Western
Western media is led by U.S. media and American imperialist agenda. And
Right.
once we understand that, we'll understand honestly how this entire Ukraine-Russia situation actually began, how it was instigated, and large. Let me not even see. I don't want to get you banned, but I I encourage our people to do the research. And we need to set up more panels where we engage with more people, because I can say this: while many of us are afraid and we see so many of our people kind of attached to this misinformation and
Oh yeah.
almost seeming dependent on it, there are many of us who are waking up and who really crave for knowledge and information. And
Yes.
if we focus on those people more, obviously it'll have a cascading effect that will ripple throughout the entire community.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that you know, we need to have more panels as we lead up to this vote piece. I
Yes.
don't know where you at on it, but outside of like really important local elections and some statewide elections, I really think Black people need to be very strategic in the vote. I don't
I
think we need to
I
be
thousand
lining
percent
up.
agree with you.
Yeah, I don't think
Listen,
we need to be lining up.
I
And
will
it's
dare to say that I think Black people should have just went to them, just voted Republican. Boom, just give the election to the Republicans to teach, if just to teach the Democrats that they don't own us and they don't own our vote. Because
yeah,
the moment you pledge
I, I'm
fealty
s-
to
I- I'm starting to lean towards that myself, brother. To be honest with
yeah,
you, and
listen,
I never thought I would
no
say
one
that.
will respect you if they know there is no consequences for anything they do against you.
Hmm.
Period.
Right,
Why are you voting for Democrats?
right.
You
You
know what I'm
keep you
saying?
vote you voting for your own oppressor.
It's strategy. First of
It's
all, Black people
strategy.
should be voting policy, not party. Period.
Exactly.
So whoever speaks to the ideology that you believe in, that's who
Yep.
gets your vote. And
Right.
and obviously looking at their record. But
Right.
to just pledge this loyalty to a political party because we've been doing this forever and that's just what Black folks do,
Right.
that's lazy.
Yeah.
And
We
it
gotta
makes
be more
you know what it
strategic.
makes us Black people? It makes us a sure thing. It makes us that chick that everybody could take into the back room and have their way with. That's
Dang,
how they
that's
look at
such
us.
a hurtful analogy, but it's so
I
true.
know. I'm sorry, but but you know what I'm saying. They look at us like as an easy lay, whether it's a guy or a
We
girl,
are.
and
Ain't
that's
even getting
terrible.
paid for it. At least get paid.
You're
I'm
right.
serious.
Quid pro quo. You're right.
Yeah, like get something out of it.
We giving it up for
You
free.
giving you giving it up for free.
Oh my lord. Mm. You're right. I'm sorry. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Like Mr. Untouchable just said, makes us a jump off. Exactly.
yes, yes, we a jump off, and it's sad because we're also the tool. We're the political
Right.
football that is used
Political
by
football.
both major political parties. Like they
Yep.
speak about equality and oppression and justice when they really have no understanding of it. Well, I don't even want to say they don't have an understanding of it. They do.
Right.
They just don't want to give it to you.
Right. Right.
Yeah. We're just a thing. We're a thing that they use to swing and win elections. And that has to change.
Yep. It is so sad. And I guess I wanna because we got about 10 more minutes. I'm thinking, what are some of the tools and strategies that you would recommend? Because people are really, really interested in this conversation. We got a lot of people in the chat. What are
Mhm.
some of the tools that you would offer to the people that are listening right now on how we can push back and raise the consciousness of more people in our community?
Well, one thing is, and it's honestly very, very simple.
Yeah.
You know, there was a meme that I posted on my Facebook page the other day of a guy that's standing in the dark smoking a cigarette in the shadows. And it said, me watching my Facebook friend getting jumped on and attacked for something that I 100% believe in. You know how people get jumped on and you know, for having an opinion that people, you know, want to just jump in and attack them for. I think it's more about people needing to speak up. People are afraid to use their authentic voices. We're not speaking up, and we're allowing ourselves to be bullied into silence. And I think the more we all use our authentic voices without fear of condemnation or cancellation, I think even that simple action, it affects a shift. Oh, wait a minute, my computer. Okay, I think Sister Zakia's computer crashed, but I'll just, I guess, continue until she rejoins the room. But yeah, so that's one of the things that we can do, is to use our authentic voices and speak up without fear. But another thing that we need to do is we need to get ourselves, we need to somewhat wean ourselves off of social media as we know it. And I know it's a fun place to be, but when it comes to these mega corporations, these platforms like Facebook and Twitter, and well, we know Instagram is owned by Facebook, you know, it's so addicting. It's addictive, right? But we're losing touch with the real world, and we're even losing touch with our authentic sense of revolution. We don't know what that is anymore. We think that by posting some clever quips and a few things on social media that it affects change, but that does not truly affect change. We need to start to pull back from supporting these platforms that are overtly silencing our authentic voices anyway, and start to reinvest in alternative media platforms, even those that you do not agree with. Remember that. I don't have to like you in order to accept information from you and analyze it and think for myself. You know, that's one thing that we have a problem with today, is we don't want to agree with someone that we don't like or that we normally don't agree with. And we also have this practice of labeling others who have opposing points of view. And that's one of the driving factors, that it's one of the ideologies that's kind of placed upon us and conditioned into us through, you know, this liberal environment. And I can't even really truly call it authentically liberal, because I don't believe that's what liberalism is. So we have a responsibility essentially to push back against the false narratives. We have a responsibility to question things. That's another important thing, because for the most part, we don't question things. And often we default to people that we deem as authorities over us for our information, which is, you know, that's very dangerous to do. We have a responsibility to question whatever we have been taught. You don't have to disagree with it, but you must question it, because otherwise you're just merely serving as a mouthpiece for someone else's point of view and their agenda. So, you know, I don't know where Sister Zakia is. She may have, maybe she's restarting her computer, but I do want to thank everybody for showing up, and I want to thank Sister Zakia for allowing me to share my point of view on her platform. You know, I've been, like I said, I've been also shadow banned on social media, heavily on Facebook, and I'm an old head, so you know I started on Facebook. You know what I'm saying? So, but you can find me on Facebook at Tony Lindsay, but you can also find me on IG at oh god, Tony underscore director. No, Tony Lindsay underscore director. That's where you can find me on IG, and I'm also on TikTok. I think it's Tony underscore talks. Tony talks. I've come to see that on TikTok, you're allowed a little bit more freedom to use your voice. So for now, hey, you know, that's cool. But let's not become over reliant upon these mega social media giants that continue to stifle our voices. That's very important. We have to understand this. We're in an era of overt authoritarianism and fascist ideology. We have entered our dystopia, and many people don't realize it. On The View, just recently, you had Whoopi Goldberg and her cackling crew co-hosts calling for DOJ investigations and the arrest of, I think it was Tulsi Gabbard and Tucker Carlson, for having a dissenting opinion on the war. So they're calling for locking up political adversaries. Does that sound familiar? How can we criticize Russia for being a brutal dictatorship and silencing voices of dissent, yet we are calling for the same thing to happen to American citizens here at home? So, brothers and sisters, please, we have a responsibility to question everything, ask questions, and don't be intimidated into silence. I appreciate you guys. Do you think TikTok will change since it's Chinese owned? Well, from what I've noticed, TikTok, it allows more free speech, but it's still, because it operates here also in the United States, it's subject to a certain amount of regulation. And I believe that they're kind of tiptoeing within the boundaries. But you have a much better chance of appealing a suspension on TikTok than you do on Facebook. Like Facebook, that's just Big Brother. That's the ministry of truth. If you're talking about Facebook, question everything. That's right. You have to use social media wisely and with sound and deliberate intentions and with foresight. Absolutely, I 100% agree. And while I do not rely upon social media, as none of us should, whenever we engage on social media, we need to be intentional about why we use it, even if it means you just want to be entertained for the day. But social media is a way of reaching the masses of people. So we need to be very cognizant of what we're putting out there, and I'm talking about in terms of even just self-respect, or even as far as what we're going to do to inform our community. So for me, my participation on social media and as a filmmaker, because I'm a filmmaker, and in my art, in my filmmaking, I always try my best to inspire critical thinking, and I try to put in messaging that will, in essence, create a better world. That's basically what I try to do as a filmmaker. So for now, there still is a certain amount of freedom in the filmmaking world, but you see, they are also coming for the arts. They're coming for comedians, for even just telling jokes. That used to be one of the most protected art forms, was comedy. But now we're in this cancel culture, this snowflake environment where anyone says anything that you don't like, you're immediately offended and you call for them to be canceled and for them to just be taken, just economically castrated. And to me, that's basically a political ideology of temper tantrums that is pretty much imposed by a political party, not even just a political party, but an ideology and a political movement that is spearheaded by people who have an anti-Black agenda. So, people, I want to say thank you once again for hearing me run my mouth. I don't know, maybe Sister Zakia had an issue with her computer. Great talk, great show. We have to send a strong message in 22 to 24. Yes, I believe the Democrats are going to lose. I think they're going to get swept. But still, we cannot rest, because we have to hold Republicans accountable just as we do with Democrats. But I will say this: there is no harm with speaking with the Republican Party. There's no harm in hearing what Republicans have to say, because at this stage where we are right now, I see conservative voices standing on the right side of history, more so than so-called liberal voices. See Tony's film Where Hearts Lie. Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, the name of my movie is Where Hearts Lie. You can find it. It's pretty much anywhere, but I think you can even see it for free on Tubi. Yes, report it. On Twitter, you can't even curse anymore without them asking. Oh, yeah. It's crazy, isn't it? So I would suggest, as Sister Zakia said earlier, go to Rumble, the platform Rumble. I know the mainstream media, and I hate saying the mainstream media, but establishment media, corporate media, left neoliberal media labels Rumble as right-wing media platform. And just remember something, guys. Whenever someone says something you don't like, you would, with Democrat practices or the liberal practice today is to just label that person as other in order to silence them. We don't. We're too smart for that. So, okay, yeah, okay. There's Zakia. She just sent me a message. Her computer restarted in the middle of the show. Okay, so all right. I don't know if I know how to even end the stream, but I'm gonna, I guess, log out in a second. Yep, it ain't perfect, but at least they're pushing back. Okay, let me just tell her log back in to end the stream. Okay, so let's see if she comes back in, and then we can end the talk. The Democrats have big tech on their side. They will generate fake votes. They have no integrity. They will do it. You know, I don't put anything past either political party, but I do know that they are all vying for control. And when the Democrats won this past election, this presidential election, we have to understand that Democrats pretty much control all branches of government right now. So what are the excuses? What are the excuses that they're giving us for not being able to do anything for us? Didn't they say black people won this election for Joe Biden? Didn't he thank you guys for winning the election for him? What is he giving you? What is he giving you besides maybe cursing out your black leaders on his first few days and telling y'all to hell with y'all? You know, we are allowing these people to ignore us, and not even just ignore us, but to outright disrespect us. And we're better than that. So anyway, people, I want to thank you guys for showing up, and I'm going to end this live stream. So I guess you guys just log out and we'll figure out the rest later. Thanks again for having me, and I appreciate all of you. Love you, black people. Be one, as in the words of Dr. Boyce Watkins. Love y'all for life. Peace.